Welcome to tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption Absolute. My name is Lucien Francois Mateo St. James. I am a spiritual epidemiologist, and I'm here to encourage you in knowing with empowered conviction the truth of your transcendent divinity. Thank you for co-creating this moment with me here because you are the all that is. I am the all that is, and that's complicated and jargony law of assumption language for the truth that you are God. You are God of your reality. You are an individualized expression of source consciousness, and we are living in a holographic reality, a dream, or as I like to refer to it, the afterlife. And we've been recreating, obviously, these nightmares, these nightmares of consciousness on repeat, just experiencing terribleness, having no idea that we've been the ones in control, because the more that we outsource our power, the more that we live without from the external presentation of the illusion, the more separated we are from ourselves, the more disempowered we feel, the more hopeless, the more we chase, the more we seek, the farther away we feel, and the worse things get. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the power of rejection. And this is equally as important as what you're affirming as well. So it's not just a matter of what you're affirming, because as you begin to affirm new things, let's just say that you're here and your desired reality is here. And I'm not talking about time being in between. This time is a measuring point between two distances here on this 3D realm, sure, but everything collapses into the now. What you say, you are the power of your I am. The only law that matters is the power of what you believe to be true in the moment. So it's not a matter of, oh, I'm here and I'll get here at some point in time. If your rationale is telling you that you'll get here over a period of time, you'll never get there. You'll always be getting there. So I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that if your current state is here and what you're affirming is over here, as the, what is it called? Not a sequencing of events, like an unfolding of events. What is it? I think Neville Goddard calls it like the train of incidences or something, or the sea of incidences, sequence of incidences. I don't know, but there's going to be some things like, essentially like a car doesn't just like magically fall out of the sky, or a lover doesn't just like walk into your home space, right? Like there's going to be a series of things happening. I call it the unfolding. That's what I call it. So we'll just stick with what I know and where I go with things. But it is something to do with like, a train of incidences or something. I don't know, drop it in the content in the comments if you know what the hell I'm talking about. But there's going to be a series of things that happen. And usually within that series of things that happen, we're not just going to, okay, but I don't have this thing. I'm affirming that I have this thing, or I'm not this person. I'm affirming that I have this person. It's not just going to be like a boom identity shift. There's going to be, or at least in my experience and from what I've witnessed in the journeys of others as reality creators, we are all creating reality. But when you start doing that with conscious intention, and this is just very personally my story, all the stuff that's between you and where you're at now in that state of consciousness, it's going to come to the surface. And you then have to figure out what you want to do with that at that point in time. You then have to decide, am I going to continue to let this define me? So if, for instance, and this is a very basic example of mine, if you're affirming love, if you're affirming being valued, being adored, being received, everything, if being received is over here, and let's just say you have all of these negative beliefs, I do imagine it, maybe I need to get a whiteboard. But I do imagine it is like being received is like this energetic state, right? It's this mass, this density. And if tied to that, you have all of these anchors to, I was never received in the past. Nobody listens to me. People leave me. I have so much love to give and nowhere to put it. Every time I express myself, people stop listening. whatever you have attached to that idea of being received, you're going to start experiencing usually the opposite of that. Not the opposite, like an arbitrary opposite, but whatever you have associated with being received, all of those things are going to come up. And what should you do when they come up? Well, what's worked really well for me is to reject them. And the power of rejection is just as important as the power of affirmation. You have to reject that those negative or opposite manifestations, because here's the thing is they are manifestations of what you want in one way or the other. You're just experiencing the opposite polarity of that. When you start manifesting love, for instance, you get broken up with, that is a manifestation of love. It's the whatever is not love, is not truth, is not in vibrational alignment with that which you've been scripting and seeing and visualizing and declaring for yourself in the power of your I am, because it's not the tips and tricks, it's you. You're the source consciousness of everything, and the rest is just permission slips or different ways of accessing your own energy. But at the end of the day, it comes back to your own energy. So then I'm manifesting love and my partner leaves me. Well, was your partner in alignment with the version of love that you're manifesting? And now furthermore, you're going to have to look at your abandonment wounds. You're going to have to look at your ideas around being left and what that means to you. And because if your idea of love means I'm not worthy unless I have a partner, and then you lose your partner because you're manifesting love, and then you start associating with that loop, with that belief system that I'm not worthy, see, this always happens, my mom left, my dad left, my boyfriend in third grade left. What you're looking at is your own association with love. So always, and everything is just so here and there. So the 3D is dead. What you see manifested has already happened. That's already, as I say, that meal's already cooked. That's already here. That's already, we can feel it, we can taste it. That's already manifested in the physical reality. But then how are you going to respond to it? Are you going to continue to identify with that? And furthermore, are you listening to what it's telling you about what you did believe at a previous point in time? Now, that work has its benefits and it has its drawbacks. At certain points in time, it's not really necessary. Once you start to get to a level where you're feeling comfortable with yourself, and you're comfortable with your flow and your momentum with creating your reality intentionally, it's not necessary to, at least I don't think, it's not necessary to examine every single negative event or, go back and say, what does it say about what I thought at a period of time? But if you're new to all of this, or if you're working to take it to the next level of reality creation, then it is good to look at, like, okay, I was manifesting love, my partner left me, all of this other stuff started falling apart. I'm sitting here alone, I'm feeling abandoned, I'm feeling the dating apps call me. What does that say about my attachments to needing to be loved by somebody else? What does it say about my ability to be alone with myself? Can I enjoy my own company? Am I manifesting a version of love that satisfies the ache that I have as a child that never got their needs met? And that's why I keep looping in these destructive cycles with people that are not good for me? Or am I manifesting a love within that starts within, ends within? Am I starting to become comfortable with myself? Do I know who I am? Now, what the hell is an identity? An identity is just a set of ideas about yourself, most of which you've inherited. And even if you construct it by yourself, nothing here is original on earth because creation is finished. So with that, like, that's a different video. Like, what's an identity? What's an ego? But are you at least selecting the contents of that? And are you doing so with intention? So you have to reject, if you start rejecting the fact that, maybe in that instance that, you would have to reject that I am not unlovable simply because this person didn't understand me or I didn't understand them, or for whatever reason, the end of the relationship occurred. Because if you have a belief around, if you're manifesting love, and I'm just using love because it's common, but if you have a belief around love that I have to keep love. I have to keep the love of a specific person, or I always have to have a certain significant other around me, and the energetic state of that origin is fear, then it doesn't matter what tips and tricks and hacks or who you visualize or who you focus on or who you're sending thought transmissions to. If the energetic, because we're only going to ever manifest our energetic state of origin, you're only going to get what you already have. So if your energetic state of origin, considering love, I'm attracting, quote unquote, I'm assuming that I have all of this love. I'm assuming that, Susanna Joe, I'm assuming that she loves me. I'm assuming that, Billy Ray, that he loves me. Okay, but why? Is it because in my energetic state of origin, I don't know how to be in a frequency of love by myself? Is it because when I sit by myself, the thoughts start racing, I get anxious, and I don't want to be in my house alone, so I'm always perusing the dating apps and the bars, hoping for somebody to keep me company? If that's the energetic state, here's the thing, and that stuff will come up. If you're manifesting love or manifesting whatever it is, if you're manifesting money, every idea that you have about money is going to come crashing into you. And your job then is to examine the crash, examine the contents of the crash, and begin to reject the contents of the crash. You start rejecting, I'm not, well, my level of abundance has nothing to do with my bank account. I'm abundant because I am. I'm wealthy because I said that I'm wealthy, and that's all that I will accept. I reject all notions that my bank account has anything to do with my credit score. Now, here's the thing. The other thing is, I'm not saying necessarily you should start scripting these things. I really do believe that to stand square within yourself and to declare with conviction what you reject in your world, even just once. I mean, I've seen that work wonders. I mean, really, truly like magic in my world. I don't believe that you should continue to fixate on what you're rejecting because you're paying more attention to it. And if you continue tuning your attention to it, you're going to create more of it, because all we're ever creating is what our attention is tuned to. So I'm not suggesting that you should, every single day say, I am lovable, even if I feel if I've been abandoned. That's not what I would say, but I am lovable even if my last partner left me. I wouldn't necessarily say that, because then you're focusing on being left, and but you do need to examine what ideas come up when you're in the face of what appears to be the opposite, because it's actually not the opposite. That's what I'm saying. If you're here, if the state of love is here, and that state is within, if the state of love is within and you're here, then everything that you have on the way to this state, which is wholeness within, it is going to come up. If you feel as though you need to protect yourself from other people in order to not get hurt, then you're probably going to experience everybody wants to hang out with you all of a sudden. Everybody wants to get to know you all of a sudden, and your level of vulnerability is going to be tested, because if you have a belief that I have to avoid human contact, avoid being close to anybody, because if I am close to somebody, then they're going to not like the real me, and then I'm going to be left, then that pattern is absolutely going to come up if you start manifesting, I am whole, I am complete, I am love, I have the life of my dreams, I have the relationship of my dreams. Because anything, and I keep using the word attached to mean anything attached to your idea of what you're trying to manifest is going to come first, because that is what's most visceral. That is what's visceral means seen and touched and felt. No, but that's what's most immediate. That's what's most energetically charged, is what I would say. So, I mean, we're kind of talking about the message of why does the opposite appear when you're manifesting? Why does heartbreak appear when you're manifesting love? Because if you manifest love and you believe that I have to be inauthentic in order to keep this person, I have to people please, I have to be the problem solver, or on the opposite, I have to be closed out, I had to be shut down. I mean, everything attached to that is going to come to the surface, because now you're paying attention to your relationship with love in the first place, but it all comes from within. So, I mean, if you want to be loved, just love yourself. Just love yourself, just get off on you. Dress better, eat better. It's not about necessarily appearance, but I mean, what do you want to look like? I mean, what is your 2.0 character? What type of person would you fall in love with as you? I mean, you have to be the energetic state of that origin. If you want people to think you're funny, do you think you're funny? I'm not talking about that obnoxious person that's always like forcing themselves on people to assert that, like, hey, I'm a really funny guy. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, like, do you enjoy your own sense of humor? Can you poke fun at yourself? Do you see the absurdity in all of this madness with life? If you want money, how do you treat yourself? Are you eating cheap meals all the time? Again, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the fact that, here's the thing, is that by my estimations, now it depends on what lie you believe. I had a breakthrough. With a client when I just suggested some basic diet. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. Okay. So don't like take any of this to mean any of that. Disclaimer. But she was telling me what she spends on food, and I was like, what? I was like, wait, let's break this down. Tell me what you're buying. And the processed stuff, the chicken nuggets and the pizzas, and then eating out, and then you get your cupcakes during the middle of the day or whatever people buy, or your coffee drinks and different stuff. I'm not the boomer talking about avocado toast, but I am saying that it would actually be cheaper if you like bought the avocados and bought the toast, bought the bread, had a toaster, and made it yourself. Like, treat yourself nice. Like, for me, it is so much more gratifying for me to make a meal for myself that tastes good, is more cost efficient, that I got to influence, that I seasoned, that I cooked, rather than having somebody, and see, that's just personal preference, but that's what makes me feel like me. Rather than like having somebody else do it. And I really, if you feel like you want to be in love with yourself, like, what are you doing that's loving to yourself? Are you doing things? What would you, if you had more money, would you go to the grocery store in pajama pants? It's not even necessarily about buying new things, but like, what would you pay more attention to? What would you be more detailed about? Would you spend all your time watching shows and eating snacks? Probably not. You'd be doing something, you'd be inspired, you'd be creating something, you'd be curious, you'd have goals. Do you have goals? It's not necessarily, I'm gonna have a goal, it's not about like, the mindset stuff of like push and grind but do you know what you like on a general basis outside of doom scrolling? If you were wealthy, would you be spending 6 hours a day worried about your high school ex-best friend that just had her fourth kid and why you weren't invited to the shower? What types of things would you be doing? Would you be spending more time with yourself? Go on a walk. There's so much wealth in nature. Look at nature. Nature is naturally abundant. To be with that frequency. So here's a story of, I'm just talking. I'm just saying, just around the topic. But changing your state of being, the stuff that's not that is gonna come up. So this is something just very recently. This happened yesterday to today. I don't like wasps. So like, I've never been stung. I don't like do insects. I don't. And I was coming up my stairs yesterday, and outside there was some wasps like circling it made sense. The location they were trying to, it was like where some piping was, outdoor like laundry stuff, and they were trying to get into that. And there's two of them, and I just looked up at it, and I was like, oh hell no, oh hell no, no. I'm like, that's a fucking problem. So I was like, I don't even have any wasp spray. I don't even have any wasp spray because that's not happening in my reality. So I got inside and I thought about, should I go get some wasp spray? And I was like, no, because if I go get some wasp spray, that is reaffirming the identity or reaffirming the truth of this situation, that there are wasps, that there are a nest, that they're creating a problem, and that's a problem that I'm going to have to fight them about to make them go away, which essentially is a threat to my safety, because I consider wasps a threat to my safety. Fine, maybe I'm a bit soft. I don't like wasps. So I'm like, what am I affirming if I go fight the wasps? Well, I'm affirming that I have to fight for my safety. I'm affirming that they're there. I'm affirming that they have a place. And then I'm affirming that I have to go force my way into feeling safe again on my deck. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I did. I rejected the wasps from this residence. I declared them gone. I stated that there are no wasps here. Wasps are not welcome here. The frequency of wasps, what wasps are, they're not here. That's not something I'm doing. I don't do wasps. I mean, I was just, talking. It wasn't about the word specifically, but I was like, fuck wasps. That's not what's happening. But furthermore, when we talk about the power of my I am, what I really stated, I was like, this is an old belief cropping up, presenting itself, saying that I have to fight for safety. And I was like, I don't fight for anything. I just am safe. I just am safe. I denied the presence of any threats, but again, not really focusing so much on the threats. I'm like, I am safe. This place is safety. I am safety. This residence is safety. This fucking town is safety. This earth is safety. The whole universe conspires to keep me safe. So there are no threats. I'm not threatened. And I looked up today and there's no wasps. No wasp nests. That all went away. So that was even like a one day, type of thing. So the power of rejection, the power of what when these types of things come up, when you're in one state of being, and it is the state of being that represents that which you do not desire, and you're experiencing a lot of bullshit, you're experiencing the various forms of lack and fear, whether it be in money, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in choice, whether it be in autonomy, whether it be in time, and you start affirming that which you do want, the bridge of incidents, I said train, that's what it is, the bridge of incidences. When the bridge of incidences occurs, that bridge of incidents is going to take you through every single thing that is attached to that state of being that is not that state of being that you've associated with that state of being. I remember when I started affirming wealth, and I just bought this car. Like, this car was new. It had no reason to have all of these issues. I ended up spending about $7,000 in the course of 3 months on a new car. I mean, it was one issue after the other. It didn't make any sense. And I mean, it was devastating. It was devastating. I was an emotional wreck. I was like, I'm never going to get out of this. Like, it seems like every time things expand or they get better, like the fact I even have the money to pay this amount for this car, the fact I was able to buy a new car, and the fact that I can even afford this, well, like, now that money's gone. I was like, this world's just a fucking drain. And prior to that, I had a beloved, it was a family Jeep. Now my family's dead, but it was a family Jeep. And I had that for years. It was in 2007, and I loved it. I love old shit. Look around. I love old shit. I live in an old place. I mean, I'm very in touch with my past lives. Like, I don't really feel very attached to 2025. I don't like a lot of what's going on here. So, I mean, here's the thing. You make peace with that. I made peace with that during my alcoholism in my early 20s. Like, I'm here. Bashar, it was so profound to me when Bashar said that you can't change the fact you exist. I was like, fuck. He's right. He's right. But I'm very attuned to the 20th century, more so than I am what's going on now. But hey, I get to talk to you through this. So hey, it's all meant to happen the way it's meant to happen. But I had this family Jeep, and I loved it. I mean, I love the longevity and the, I love things that are rugged. I love things that can last. I've been wearing the same pair of leather Clark boots for the last 3 years, and I just keep buying more Clark boots. Like, I love that stuff, and finally, I ended up having to put $5,000 into that, going to a, nationally known auto repair place, and they made it worse. And here's the thing, I manifested it as I was afraid to lose the car. I was scared to death to lose that car, and I would bring it in for routine issues, and they made it worse. I mean, there was one point in time, like, it wasn't leaking anything. I took the Jeep back from this well-known auto place, and it was leaking blue fluid. I mean, like, they were just up there. It just seemed like just slashing wires and slashing things. When, like, I brought it in and it wasn't leaking. It brought it, and they never could figure it out. And that was a lost cause. So that was $5,000. And then immediately after, I'm like, I have to get, like, a new car, which was heartbreaking on an emotional level. So I loved that Jeep. And then, it was a computer issue. It was, the sensor came, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, this part would be covered by the warranty, but it wasn't, because there was this other little module. And if you see here, and it was just hell. It was just hell. It was hell, first of all, because I didn't have a car most of the fucking time. I just spent all my money. I'm spending more and more money on this. And it wasn't actually till it finally just ended. Like the hell with the car just ended. And it's an SUV, and I came to the conclusion later. This was much later. This was probably about a year later. I mean, this was all this was years ago. I came to the conclusion that I held on to that Jeep. I had a little bit of a computer system, not much of one, but I had this deep-seated belief that these cars today, so here I am ranting about today's times, that the cars today, that they're shit, that nothing's built to last. Everything's a computer issue, which is exactly whatever all of it was. And that because of all of these mechanized, computerized, digitized, intricacies, basically, I'm no mechanic. The auto industry is essentially ruined, and we're all being gypped and ripped off, and this world is going to hell in a handbasket. Really, like these were not necessarily, for instance. So in the middle of this, I had just started making enough money to be able to even afford this shit. So this was much later that I was examining, because it finally just ended. I mean, it was just, I do remember rejecting a notion. I was talking to my then wife at the time. I do remember having a conversation with her, like at the very end of it, being like, I reject middle-class misery. Like, middle-class misery is having car problems that eat up all your money, and I do remember, at the end of it, rejecting that with her. But much later on, I was examining all of that because it was just so horrific on so many levels. And I realized, and it was just so basic. It was that as I was manifesting money, I had an idea attached to money that if you buy a car today, that car is going to eat up all your money because of all of what I said. And that wasn't some deep-seated traumatic belief. That was just my general disdain for today. That wasn't, okay, I was traumatized and I was in a car wreck and the car was a new car, and then it created this belief system about, that was just a general plain belief that I had. It was a very general plain, negative, bitter belief that I had about today's cars that manifested in $7,000 after purchasing it new. That I did that to myself, because the minute that I started making enough money to even be able to afford that type of car payment, that type of car, and the money that it took to repair it, and everything was just outside the warranty, that was what I had attached to wealth. I had this idea that the minute that I get money, it's going to be siphoned by these freaking computerized, mechanized cars that aren't built to last. Everything's made of plastic and fucking wires, not like the Jeeps back in the day. See what I'm saying? That was just general conversation to me. That was just what, I'm pissed. I'm pissed about today because everything fucking sucks. Well, I manifested a reality where all of that happened to the T, and probably, I looked up reviews about this car, and none of this shit was happening to anybody else. I won't say anybody, but these were not common problems. And that was the whole thing, is that the dealer was these are not common problems. And then I didn't know, am I getting ripped off, or what is going on? And here's the thing, it didn't matter if I was getting ripped off, because all that was happening was me manifesting my own negative belief system. So on my way, so I was in a state of, scarcity, lack, poverty, indoctrination, programming, slavery. And I'm embodying a state of wealth. I'm starting to change my thoughts. I'm attracting new opportunities. Things around me are shifting. I'm getting new sources of income. But what was attached to my idea of wealth? Expensive car payments that siphon my money before I have a chance to actually spend it on things I enjoy. And that was just a general common belief. So I'm saying that whatever you have attached to your, then you have to reject that. So, then, and this, again, it ended up, it stopped kind of on its own. But, if I'm using that as an example, the answer to that would have been that my wealth is not dictated by car repairs, cars, or anything to do with cars. My money is free to enjoy, to spend, to save, to invest, and that is the end. And I would continue affirming that. Again, you don't need to focus too much on the rejection, but, and to stop identifying, because I was identifying with being a victim of the auto industry. I mean, that's really what was happening. A victim of the auto industry, a victim of today's times, because everything, it seems like, is made to break. And because of that, the minute that I stepped into that arena to have to purchase a car from the auto industry, that's exactly what happened. And that was attached, all of this happened together. It was attached to my idea of wealth. So it wasn't even like I just randomly got a car and it just like randomly had all these problems. It happened at the exact same time I was manifesting and receiving and doing it successfully wealth. I was creating that reality. And the reality I created was car problems, because car problems were attached to my idea of wealth. And that is what flew to the surface first, because that was what was energetically charged. So then I had to neutralize that charge, essentially, so I could come back to, okay, and then what is that embodiment like? Stop defining myself as being a victim to the auto industry. Or for instance, I mean, just in general, the more alone time that I've wanted with myself and the more that I've been enjoying that, the more invitations that I've been getting. That was just a quick note on detachment as well. The source of all of this is you. So we bounced around for a lot of different topics today. I'm just talking. I was just talking. But the power of rejection. You don't need to fixate on the rejection, because if you fixate on the rejection, you will create, like, if I sit here and say, there are no wasps, there are no wasps, there are no wasps, no wasps, I'm like, I don't even want to say that shit, I'm fucking creating wasps. But what would be the opposite of wasps? What do I perceive wasps to be? A threat to my good time on a deck. So then what I affirmed is like, I have good times on my deck, unbothered, unfazed. Nature keeps naturing. Nature is a positive way. Nature does not threaten me. Nature loves me. Nature shows me loving things, loving images. The birds in the sky, they fly, the clouds pass, and I'm safe on my deck. That's what I affirmed. But I also did, I banished the fucking wasps too. So you will have to reject things. Stop if you are affirming, for instance, respect. I've heard this, respect in the workplace. Then when somebody, if you're channeling respect in the workplace, it's probably because you feel currently disrespected. Well, one, I would ask you where you're disrespecting yourself, because everything is just a mirror image of you. But two, stop when you're met with disrespect, and I've been through this. Stop claiming that disrespect as evidence to substantiate or to validate who you are, because we get that, and it's like, if this is what the world is delivering me, then that just must be all I am. That just must be what I'm worth. That just must be the truth of my reality. So reject that. It's like, I reject that disrespectful treatment is my norm. I reject that I am expected to answer to superiors. Not that this is my particular case, but I'm just saying things. I reject that I am expected to answer to superiors that do not treat me with common decency. And then I would start affirming, and then what does common decency look like for you? And that's all that's happening in my reality. And there will be some dissonance between what you're affirming and what the 3D shows you as your state is settling, but everything is also immediate. So when I say state is settling, it's as you're accepting it as your truth for yourself. That's all that's settling. Because, the declaration and the truth and the reality of that declaration is immediate. Bounced around a lot, so thanks for hanging with me. Signing off of this transmission of the Ministry of Assumption Absolute. My name is Lucien Francois Mateo St. James. I am a spiritual epidemiologist. I thank you for co-creating this moment with me. Remember to be good to yourself and others, because everybody's you in the first place. And join me on Substack. Subscribe to the Liberation Chronicle. It is the written word of this ministry, and there is an exclusive podcast attached to that, and get one started on Spotify as well. So lots of places to hear me ramble about how to live as the divinely incarnate being that you are.